want to tell you my story. You may ask, who am I? Come closer. Who I am, it's not important, but my story is so important. My story starts about 12 years ago, a little over 12 years ago. I started my menstrual cycle, and I just kept bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. For 12 long years, I bled. You got to understand what that means. In my country, or in my culture, a menstruating woman is considered unclean. So what does that mean? That means that everything I touch will be made unclean. And furthermore, if I touch something and someone else comes and touch it, they also will be made unclean. I couldn't go out in public. I couldn't hug my family. I couldn't go to the synagogue to pray. I was just so alone, so isolated. This went on for 12 years. Of course I wanted to get better. Of course. I went from doctor to doctor to doctor. So many doctors. But not one of them could heal me. Oh yeah, they took my money. Oh, they took my money. I spent everything that I had trying to be healed. But instead of being healed, I got worse. So not only was I alone, but I was getting weaker and weaker and weaker. I was so down. Yes, I must admit I was depressed. I almost gave up. I was to the point of almost giving up. But then one day, I heard about this man, Jesus. And I knew without a doubt he could heal me. So can you imagine how happy I was when I heard he was in my town? I was so desperate. I knew that I just couldn't go to Jesus and said, Jesus, lay hands on me so I can be healed. Because remember, I'm unclean. He can't touch me. But I had to do something. This was my last chance at being healed. So I rushed to see Jesus. When I got there, there were so many people around him. Crowds and crowds of people. They all were there to see Jesus. I couldn't give up. I was determined not to give up because I knew without a doubt that if I could just touch the hem of his garment, I would be healed. So I got on my knees and I crawled to Jesus. I pushed through the crowd, trying to get to Jesus. And soon I was close to Jesus. Yes, I was close. I reached out and I touched the hem of his garment. And immediately the bleeding stopped. Hallelujah. The bleeding stopped. I was healed. Can you imagine how happy I was? I was so happy. Then suddenly Jesus turned around and asked, who touched my clothes? Yeah, I was afraid. I was trembling with fear. Because remember, I was unclean and I wasn't supposed to touch anything. So I was definitely trembling with fear. But then I thought about what Jesus had done for me, right? What he had just done. So I went and I fell before his feet and I told him the whole story. I will never forget his response to me. No, I won't forget his response to me. Jesus said, "My daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." Wow. 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 Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I just touched him and I was unclean, and his response to me was to call me his daughter. Isn't that amazing? Well, that is my wonderful, miraculous story of faith and healing. You still may ask, who am I? I am known as the woman with the issue of blood. Now let's talk about the times we're in now. There's a pandemic. We have COVID-19. COVID-19 is causing us to experience the same thing as the woman with the issue of blood. Right? We're feeling isolated. We're feeling alone. We're suffering. We can't hug our family members, right? We have family that we can't even touch. Some of the same things that the woman with the issue of blood also experienced. But we know that same Jesus that she knew over 2,000 years ago. Yes, we do. So if we just have the faith that the woman with the issue of blood had in Jesus, that he could heal, that he could make us whole, that he would make everything okay, we also can be at peace. I hope this is an encouraging word for you at this time. Go and be